That is the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest part of the ring. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the hardest part of the ring.
Hello and welcome to episode number 56 of Hardest Part of the Ring, the podcast where four friends get together to discuss the wonder of professional wrestling. And this week, things are a little bit different. There are four friends, but Sam's not here and Brett's not here. It's just myself, Adam, and John sitting down with Josh and Tom from Riptide Wrestling. Those of you who've listened to the pod for a long time will know that we are big fans of Riptide. It's our local promotion and we've been to loads of their shows in the past. And we've had Josh on the podcast, in fact, a couple of times before. But this is the first time we've got to sit down with both Josh and Tom. And as a team, they put together Riptide and are responsible for all the great work they've been doing down there. So, yeah, really cool to get to have a chat with them. We talk a little bit about 2018 and the amazing year that they had. They crowned their first ever champion. We talked about the controversy surrounding the broken ring from their championship tournament night. That's I'd like to just put a little disclaimer in there. I think during the podcast, I think John and I admit that we got in the ring and broke it. We just got carried away. We had nothing to do with it. Okay, you know, it was a load of other people who jumped in. We wouldn't do that to Riptide. Also, we talked a little bit about Deep Six, which is the next show they've got coming up on Friday, February the 15th. So if you're around, definitely try and get tickets for that. It's going to be absolutely amazing and the card is looking incredible. And of course, we go off on some other tangents as well. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. We've got a little break in the middle of the podcast where Josh had to stop momentarily to make an announcement on the Riptide social media. But apart from that, I think it's all good. So hopefully you enjoy it. I will be back at the end to wrap things up. But until then, this is Adam and John from Hardest Part of the Ring talking to Josh and Tom from Riptide Wrestling.
Right on the apron. The spine run right down the apron. The apron doesn't give a damn. Your body does.
Okay, we're joined today by Josh and Tom from Riptide Wrestling. Hello, guys.
Howdy.
Hello. And John's here as well. Hello. So yeah, we're very lucky to have had Josh on at the podcast a couple of times. First time was, I think it was December 2017, like over a year ago now. But Tom, this is your debut.
My pleasure.
Feeling the pressure?
Very much so.
I thought it might be good to start off with. Obviously, we spoke to Josh on previous podcasts, and we've got a pretty good idea of what he does at Riptide. But obviously, you two sort of both head it up. So I wondered how you guys split things. Do you collaborate on everything, or do you have areas that you specialise in? How does it work between the two of you?
So I help Josh with the production of all the shows. It's kind of, we've been described as the Bruce Pritchard or the Pat Patterson to Josh. It's probably the most accurate way of articulating it. Okay. So we'll be talking about who's on the show, what they're going to be doing, what they're doing moving forward, and I tend to write the sort of timeline of the running order and that kind of thing to make sure it all runs smoothly.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember before the Rumble, Josh mentioned that you had a spreadsheet or a document with everything in there.
It was almost a book at that point. It was massive, and just each page just had what number, who was going to be in the ring at that time, what big spots that they needed to take into account. We're pretty proud of how that came out as well, because that actually sort of most people who were in the Rumble said that they hadn't been used to that sort of organisation before, but we didn't really have any idea how to write or book a Rumble. We just sort of went, right, okay, if I was a wrestler, what would I want to know at that point when I was coming in, and just work backwards.
It's so hard, like herding cats, that many wrestlers, trying to get them on board and in the ring and doing their stuff.
It is, but at the same time, when you've got a massive undertaking like that, I think people can see the level of stress that they'll cause by making any kind of changes to it. So just be like, oh, well, yeah, we could do that, mate, but actually, we have to change 4, 5, and 6, move you in round here, and we didn't really have any pushback or anything, really. Though, like, I think people were pretty receptive, and
it was so smooth, wasn't it? It was amazing.
That's it. Having it all laid out like that kind of it took away the room for people to kind of mess around with it, if you know what I mean. And don't get me wrong, there were plenty of those sheets that were blank, that and lots of spots like people were key to like define for themselves, but they knew who was going to be in the ring when they were in the ring. They knew the key spots heading was like. Yeah, they knew what they had to respect, and I think people were just happy for it not to be see you in the ring, brother, like which is so often how it goes. But we didn't. I don't think we appreciated necessarily, or we're fully confident with how effective all that work that Tom put in, laying everything out, would have. There's a really key moment when we some of the talent started arriving, and Eddie Dennis picks up one of these big old fucking books with a paperclip around it with all this stuff laid out, gives it a thumb through, and sort of it looks pretty good. It's like okay, well the headmaster's happy.
True, no red marks.
No.
Cool. Okay. So 6 months since you were last on the podcast, and obviously a lot has happened at Riptide since then, and in the world of wrestling, really. You've got a champion now. Chuck Mambo is your champion. I just wondered how, pretty obvious that you're going to be excited and happy with how it all went, but how rewarding it was to be able to put on that 3-day tournament back in August, and to be able to provide all the payoffs to all the different storylines that you had.
I was a blubbing mess at the end of that.
But you're exhausted.
Oh man, because obviously there was for anyone not aware, the incident where everyone was super happy about Chuck Mambo winning the belt.
Oh yeah,
and he'd invited the crowd to get in the ring and celebrate with him, and the ring imploded. I came down from the balcony, and someone was like, "Oh my god, you're crying! Like you must be so upset about the ring." And I'm like, "I am upset about the ring, but I'm just super emotional that we just run a 3-day tournament and like it's come off like and
the adrenaline,
and particularly with the payoff to the final with Sexsmith coming out and saving Mambo, and
that was such a great main event actually, because there's so much going on with like ref bumps and stuff. It's
drama through, but it was something that we've been putting together and writing with talent for like a long time before it all came to fruition. So seeing it all before our very eyes unfolding and watching the crowd come unglued like that, and I think it was the moment where we were setting off the confetti, and I just started bawling, like it was so cool. Like,
people below the balcony were like, "Wow, they've got confetti and fake rain or something." Tears falling down. I suppose we should touch on the whole ring thing briefly. But I mean, do you know that was going to happen? Were you expecting it from what Chuck had put out, and obviously?
I mean, it was something that we. Could have seen, like, could have happened. And I mean, we certainly didn't necessarily see the ring breaking.
You wouldn't have gone ahead or accepted it.
It's one of those things that I think is a pain in the arse, but we're very happy that that emotion was there in the audience for that to happen, and looking at it cynically, I guess you'd say, is that you're like, well, at least we've got that moment like really nicely underlined. I was pretty upset about the fact that a steel structure had collapsed under the weight of people under like our supervision, our responsibility. On that level, it's something that is like quite a deep regret for me that happened on our watch. But it was no harm, no foul, wasn't it? I guess, and it's one of those things that you don't expect, because those rings can take huge amounts of people in a rumble or whatever, but not on one spot.
Not all jumping up and down.
Not all trying to get a piece of the new champ, So you know, and obviously, you know, how bad can it? Let's talk about a steel structure collapsing. Like, how bad's it actually going to be? Like, because there's nothing on top of people.
Yeah,
it wasn't
sort of slowly.
It wasn't an
really,
explosive.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing.
It weren't shards of metal flying off.
But yeah, that's there's precautions and briefing in place for that not to happen again.
Yeah,
it's very much a health and safety issue that now we're very much aware of you know, what can happen. I think if someone tweets now saying, when I win this match, everyone's going to get in the ring with me, we've at least got this to point to and go, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Whereas before, we knew Chuck was obviously going to win the match.
Yeah.
We couldn't be like on Twitter going, no, please don't do that when you win.
If this happens, don't do it.
Did it cause any issues like hiring rings moving forward?
I got to say, like, huge credit to the Rev Pro guys. Have been, you know, really cool and understanding about it all. It's something that they've had happen to them when we were rookie promoters. Do you know what I mean? So it's like they've been really. It's one of those things that everyone's was really cool about it, and it's just it's a point of us to learn to learn about that, and I'm hoping that that empowers us to make more unfun killjoy decisions about things like that.
Exactly. All the fans will be behind big
Perspex
screens.
Yeah. And and a huge thank you to people that set up and donated to the Kickstarter to help us out with repair costs and whatnot. So that was great.
Yeah, people donated whether they were in the ring or not, and I think that was really sweet of them.
John, did you donate? Yes, John was in the ring.
Oh well, thanks, mate.
Yeah.
I donated.
Oh well, thanks, mate.
Yeah, nice one.
I couldn't sleep that night. I felt so guilty.
And that was
awful. I really did.
And that was the thing that, like, for me, I was just like, oh, fuck, like, this is. Obviously you're upset and you're worried and you're like, oh, how are they going to take this and blah blah this and that. But more than anything, it's like, don't, like, this will get sorted out.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad. Enjoy the play, monster.
I honestly thought, oh my god, we've destroyed Riptide.
Yeah.
What a way to go out. Yeah.
I went to bed late that night though, because when I got home the adrenaline was pumping, because that was just. I loved the fact that it happened, and I think in the long run people will have those memories, and you'll have the photos of it. Everything's sorted, nobody was injured.
Right,
You've got the t-shirts with the broken ring, and it was just one of the best moments I ever had. Definitely in wrestling, but just in terms of live events, like, the adrenaline was pumping. And I was getting into that ring, jumping up and down, and then just with all these people, some people we've met a couple of times, other strangers, all just hugging each other.
It's real, man.
It really was. Yeah,
that's one of the things that people who don't get it will never quite understand.
No,
is that to those people in that ring, it's like someone. The closest thing I can put to it is like someone winning an Oscar, your favourite actor winning an Oscar for the first time and being given that award for their dedication, commitment to their craft. Mm-hmm. And it is the equivalent of your favourite actor winning an Oscar and then you be able to get up on the stage.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of wrestling at its best, isn't it? Where you completely forget about performance or anything. It's just you get caught up in that moment.
For a split second, even
storytelling. It's just there.
Yeah,
it's great.
I always say, like with the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, every year it was the trick to how much they can convince you that it's going to end, even when it totally isn't. And if you're fooled for like a second on that near fall on the big false finish, then they've done their job, right? So,
yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah. So I wanted to look back at last year a little bit more before we move on to this year. Riptide Res Fans obviously is an account on Twitter. And they did some end of year awards by themselves, and they came out that the best match as voted for by the fans was Cara Noir versus Speedball Mike Bailey. I just wondered, you guys agree with that? Do you think it might have been sort of recency bias? I mean, it was amazing. But
I mean, I do think there was recency bias there.
Yeah.
But when you bring into the fact of, like, another two of the, two really strong candidates for that were Speedball Mike Bailey matches. Then,
Travis Banks was one of my favourite matches of ever, I think.
Yeah, it's an incredible match, man. And for me, the match of the year is the Walter Bailey match, or perhaps Aussie Open ring camp.
That was brutal. That was just funny, that much. It was like, oh, there's Paul Aussie. Brilliant.
But no,
Austrian-sized pattern going on.
Yeah, this is it. You know, or the Rumble. You know, but that's a bit of a cop out when you put a Rumble as the MOTY. But I can't begrudge it at all. You know, and I think as well, if the recency bias wasn't a thing, and you're having it as the Riptide match of the year, you could argue that you have a situation whereby there's a certain amount of criteria is filled with the match quality, and then you have someone that is, you know, sort of, that was very much a coming out party for Cara Noir in Riptide as someone that can have those matches, and someone that the crowd feels a certain way about coming out of that match that perhaps they didn't quite feel the same way going in. So when you do that, it perhaps makes a bit more sense. But then again, if you do that, if you're splitting it like that, then you've got matches like David Starr, Jack Sexsmith.
That's up there for me,
which was a phenomenal match. But yeah, I think probably a little bit of recency bias, but it's definitely worth being in the conversation for sure. Definitely call it top 5.
I wonder, at the start of the year, if somebody had said that was going to get voted your best match, you guys, I mean, obviously you know how good those two are, but you might have been a little bit surprised. And most people would probably thought, oh, okay. Considering some of the other names that you've had and some of the matchups you've had, it's not as if people would have thought, oh, those two, you know, that's going to be the match.
Yeah, it's a big step up for Cara Noir.
It's really good to see Cara Noir get that recognition as well, because I think, you know, he'll be a big player moving forward.
I remember I went to, was it Lucha Britannia that won in Bethnal Green in the Arches, like years ago with my brother, and he was there. And he was amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just a really tiny little venue with like a ring, and then there's like a balcony, so you can't really do any high stuff because the balcony is kind of at the same level as
There's a Resgal.
Sorry?
The Resident Gallery.
Yes, yeah, that's what.
Yep.
It was amazing seeing him there. Like, he really stood out then.
Yeah.
I saw him there versus tagging with Jimmy Havoc against Kota Ibushi and
I remember getting a flyer
for
that. I was like, Kota Ibushi in here. I think Ospreay's wrestled there a few times as well.
Oh yeah, plenty of times. Well, so the London School of Lucha Libre is trains out of the Resgal. That's, you know, that it's kind of run by Greg Burridge, I think, that venue. So him and Gary Vanderhorn are the trainers at London School of Lucha Libre, and they produced Will Ospreay. So he's wrestled there a whole bunch. Yeah, he's probably locked up more times in that ring than he's had hot dinners.
It's always the place I'd take people who weren't into wrestling just for a good night out, because you can't. They always have put on such a fun sort of wrestling thing. It's just crazy. There's a guy dressed as a monkey, and there's a William Regal character. It's just batshit crazy.
Yeah, and you're in a Street Fighter backdrop. Incredible. No, he Will Ospreay wrestled Pentagon Jr. on that show. It was a good show. It was a good show.
Amazing.
Rhea O'Reilly had the match of the night. Honestly, was Rhea O'Reilly versus Sami Zayn for the Eve Championship in a no disqualification match. Absolutely unreal. And Sami Zayn used Kota Ibushi as a foreign object, which was great. Sorry,
brilliant. No, good stuff. So I thought, moving away from Riptide for a little bit before we get back and we talk about Deep Six, obviously coming up in February, and other stuff that you've got going on. Got to talk a little bit about the fact that the dust is settling now on the WWE NXT UK contracts situation. Kind of just wondered what your guys' thoughts were on it in terms of how the change in the landscape sort of relates to you.
So, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you know, the 5 or 6 wrestlers that we couldn't afford to lose all at once, we didn't lose any of them, you know. So that's great. It's certainly, in that regard, I think we're very lucky about when we started, and about when these first 18 months have been, because, you know, we've had the Zach Gibsons and the Jordan Devlins and the Travis Bankses and the Mustache Mountains and the Pete Dunnes. Not the Mustache Mountain and Pete Dunne necessarily worked our guys, but they were more like sort of giving the promotion. Sorry, I've got to make an announcement, dear listener. The promotion, the rub, but these other guys, Chuck Mambo being able to wrestle as Zach Gibson and a Jordan Devlin on the way to being champions, incredibly valuable. And now, but the focus has always been on building our own guys, as it were, or should I say, not to building our own guys, but focusing on wrestlers that are going to grow with the promotion.
Yeah.
And we got to do that. Now these people aren't available. It's like, well, thank God we got to do that already. And we wanted to book Cara Noir's next match against Zach Gibson. That's not an option anymore. These people that you can really depend on to do, let's bring this guy in to do that thing, and it's going to be absolutely perfect. A lot of those people you can't use to do those jobs anymore, but there's still loads of people out there to do those jobs. That could maybe even that will give a fresh impression on it. So that is, it's frustrating in some senses. It's certainly frustrating when certain talents that you can still use have certain restrictions on what they're able to do, but fundamentally that's the name of the game. It definitely has sharpened up we're probably looking to bring talent through at a quicker rate than we were, because you're thinking, okay, well, nothing's happened to inverted our guys this time round, but how about the next time round? So really, any cricket fans out there, the expression, you think you're doing well, but add 2 wickets to your score if you're batting, it's because you can get a clatter of wickets at any given one time, and you're in a very different position in the game than you were previously. And I'm very much looking at our roster at that point, which is we've got to be prepared to lose 5 of our top wrestlers at any given time.
Strength in depth. You need people on the bench.
Because I suppose you've got guys who your top guys, like the likes of Spike and Chuck, obviously, who are in the final of the championship tournament, so they are your top guys. But then the way that this situation has affected other promotions such as Progress, now they're becoming really prominent on there, where they weren't really appearing much at all, were they? So, and then they're going to get spotted by other people, and then you're right, eventually they may well get the call themselves. So, but it's worked out nicely timing wise. I hadn't thought of that in terms of the fact that you had the 18 months to establish yourselves, have some of the bigger guys, and then build your roster.
Do you find that with British wrestling being so popular over the last few years, there's lots of people going to wrestling schools, there's lots of sort of unsigned, if you like, talent out there, and
this is it, and this is one of those things that representation is unbelievably important, especially when people are talking about talent pools. And I guess that's one of the things that's frustrating. The most frustrating thing, the biggest frustration with the WWE contract stuff is on the women's side, because a much bigger percentage of the experienced stars in the country are now under restriction or not available on the women's side and on the men's side, and they're still short of talent in that area. So it's not going to be one in, one out on the women's side of that roster for a long time, I would imagine. I don't know.
That makes sense.
And it's one of those where just before Christmas I was like, I can do it. I can book a 50-50 card. I can do it. I can have 10 of one, 10 of one. Everyone, like, star reactions, there are plenty of star, there still are plenty of star reactions out there, but less than there were, but that's it. Wrestling being big sends people into wrestling schools, and if you're bemoaning talent pools, you're using talent pools as an excuse completely. Like, obviously, we've got to live in the real world, and like, yes, you're not just gonna suddenly fill your card with rookies and whatnot. You do need to maintain like a certain quality throughout most of the show, but absolutely, you've got to send people, got to get as many people into wrestling schools as possible. And if it's people that haven't previously been in wrestling schools, then fuck yeah.
And we talk about representation being important, but the amount of people now, I mean, we're already seeing it, people who are being inspired by the current crop of women's talent are now starting to wrestle themselves, you know, and like a lot of the younger talent that we work with are inspired by the people that were, you know, just making their names 5 years ago, and it's pretty great to see that. So hopefully, whilst it's a little bit of a bummer at the first, hopefully it will sort of start to even itself out, and actually it will become a really good thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Back of the neck of Charlotte into the hardest part of the ring, courtesy of Carmella.
Give it to Carmella, wisely using the ring to her advantage.
Good. So back to focusing on you guys and your shows. Obviously, we've got Deep Six coming up, February
absolutely 15th
on a Friday. The last show that we had was back in November, Blackwater. Obviously, a lot of people have noticed that you've been returning to show names that we've already had. What is the plan with regards to that? You plan to have like set shows that you're going to repeat year on year, or?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, we certainly haven't had. You know, you haven't had your chips in terms of new show names. I think, you know, new shows are gonna pop up. But yeah, I don't know. It's nice to have shows associated with your calendar and shows kind of associated with other shows, and there being a lineage to stuff. You know, I think you're always searching for genuine meaning to lay your kayfabe elements over to, because, you know, what everyone celebrates is the wins and the losses and the stuff that inverted commas doesn't mean anything, and, you know, that's a prop and this and that. But of course, you know, the way I look at it is, I don't know why it's a rock in my head, but I just imagine like this is rock is the stuff that is real, that means something, which is you know, like a bit of a history, a bit of a lineage, the community, the sense of place, you know, it and stuff doesn't need to be, just things that are real. Is this rock, and then you just have this layer of acetate that you just sort of drape over the rock, right, with the championship drawn on it. You know, so people are talking about the acetate and what's drawn on there, but actually it's really, you know, the meaning comes from this sort of body of truth. And even if it's not doesn't particularly mean much, it's just something that is real, something that is true.
Doesn't mean much now, but I mean, SummerSlam didn't mean much the first time. And I think
exactly
adds a little bit of gravitas every time it's repeated, and now people will be like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm appearing on this show that I watched years ago as a bystander.
It's quite a nice idea actually. You can end up with like a big four of your own, and then have all these other little shows coming in and out, ideas that you get. But
we've also just run out of water puns mainly.
And I was going to say, it makes it easier for Brett as well. When Brett, obviously, from our podcast, he does a lot of the... Well, is he officially art director? He's got that on his Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I told him to get it on there.
Yeah. So
I told him to get it on there, man. He's Brett's a huge part of what we do now, you know, and that's kind of a common theme. You know, as we've grown and really that's helped us grow is the personnel coming into place, and it makes everything. I mean, to be honest, okay, so shout outs to Ash Farbrother, who was our one of our first graphics guys, who essentially we ended up, he did the original logo, that's just been so fantastically evergreen for us. And you know, with Ash, it was one of these things where there's other promotions that he's very, very busy with. There's his work life that he's very, very busy with. And it just, with the pace of the shows and things like that, we had to start looking elsewhere. When we've had our first poster from Ash, which was the second poster for the first show, it made all the difference to have something that we actually wanted to promote. We actually wanted to get that poster out, with how much of a positive marriage sort of conceptually Brett is with us. It's just, I think it's just fantastic creative chemistry there. It just levels up the whole thing, and it makes just everything mean more. Top to bottom, having that glow of quality just cascades over everything, and the talent are excited about the posters, and fans are excited about the posters, and whether or not you're selling tickets to, whether or not people looking and enjoying these posters is anyone that can afford the merch or can even come to the shows. It might be in a different country, but having that visual presence online for people to consume and enjoy, regardless of whether it actually brings in an income for us, I think it's so valuable.
Yeah, I like it. It is really a unique selling point now for you guys, isn't it? Whereas obviously at the start everyone was always on about, and rightly so, the how everything looks on demand and that kind of thing. But now whenever there's a new poster that goes out, you see that reaction going around the world. So people go, "Oh, Riptide, they always get their branding so spot on, and that poster's amazing. I want to buy that poster and stuff." People are genuinely excited about it, so it's nice to see.
It is great to have, because there is world-class wrestling happening at our shows as well, but there's world-class wrestling happening a lot of places, more so than ever. It's nice to be able to differentiate, and with the show names and the Brett's amazing artwork and the visual style that Wild Stag are bringing to the video, it's all about the strong branding that really makes Riptide.
It's nice. Great when if I listen to an American podcast, like wrestling one, and they mention Riptide and stuff. It's like, oh, that's cool. I go to Riptide. That's amazing.
It's great. Yeah.
Oh mate, well, don't skimp on the. Go on, listen to that. let me know, mate. Let me know.
Just for balance, do you want to slag off Brett a little bit? Has he done anything rubbish for you?
Prick.
This is too many revisions. I can't get all of them on. Wah. No, Brett is a massive victim of his own competency in terms of. You keep smashing these briefs, mate. They're gonna get wackier.
Yeah.
No, I really owe Brett a straightforward brief. But the next show's the Rumble, so maybe not.
Quite a lot of people on a Rumble, isn't there?
Okay. You can look forward to that, Brett. Okay, back to Deep Six then. Obviously, the card is shaping up very nicely.
Absolutely.
Oh God, I keep talking about Brett. For God's sake. But Brett is a massive Haskins fan, and I know that he said that he was sort of talking to you guys saying, "Come on, when are you going to put Haskins?" I'm a massive Haskins fan as well, so obviously delighted that he's due to make his debut. Is he just a guy that you both loved for a while and wanted to book, or
always been on the radar? Yeah, he's fantastic. I think you can always you'll always get a really, really great match out of Haskins, and it was just always what's the appropriate time for him to come in, really.
That's it. And he's a busy guy. He's a busy guy. Things haven't always lined up. I mean, and it's one of those where you're just really glad we had him still to debut when it was time to fill that slot, actually. For Haskins, he's just he's fantastic, isn't he? Let's face it.
I can't wait.
And that as a package, him and Vicky is just it's just absolutely excellent. And you only got to see the fact that he's signed to Ring of Honor now. As a mark, as if we didn't know what kind of what a fantastic professional wrestler he is.
Yeah, can't wait. Obviously, he's got his match, the championship match with Chuck Mambo. Should be very special. Just to run through a couple of the other announced matches, we've got Cara Noir versus Ashmore, Candy Floss versus TK Cooper. I've been loving the little videos you've been putting out for that. Shikara and Paul Robinson versus Session Moth and Rocky Mack.
Well, Paul Robinson scares me. I find it difficult to watch him sometimes.
It's so scary.
He's so scary.
The most terrifying man.
He's so small and so
ever. Yeah. Can we expect further announcements soon?
Yes. Yep. Probably card will probably be fully announced by the middle of this coming week. So obviously this is a podcast, so that's pretty irrelevant.
So we're recording this on the Saturday, and before the pod will come out on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, so at least one will have already been announced. There might be one to be announced.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll be about it.
Cool. And people want to get tickets to that, where do they go?
Absolutely, they go to buytickets.at/Riptide Wrestling.
Perfect.
Just want to talk about if it's quite all right with you, the debuts that we've got there, other than Mark Haskins, Ashmore. Incredibly underrated, underutilised talent. He's someone that we've wanted to bring in for a while. Hasn't been quite right to do right by him as much as anything else. And this match for him is absolutely perfect. He's so good. He's so good. I think a big year for him is coming now. Not maybe not in the same way that you would say Cara Noir's got a big year coming, or maybe not quite in the same way that you would say Spike Trevay's got a big year coming, or Chuck Mambo's got a big year coming. I'm not talking about Riptide here.
Yeah, it's all over.
I'm going to bury them. No. But him and Rocky Mack is just unbelievably charismatic performer and a very polished wrestler. He's someone that people are, because he's popped up on the London scene, wrestling in places like Lucha Britannia and a lot of those Resgal centric places. There's this assumption that he's kind of relatively green because that's the kind of class of talent that he's coming up with on the shows. But the guy was training at OTT for years before he came over to England, and I think he kind of came over to just miss out on that real boom in OTT, where they've really worked out how to marry these big draws with elevating their own talent. I remember Damon Moser telling me about a training session that he took at Knuckle Locks that Rocky Mack was there, and he just could see he was really good and was like, oh, what's he doing in this class? Okay, well, I'm going to see if I can blow this guy up or something, I can't remember, and he just sort of couldn't do it, and the enduring thing that he said to me, that you could just see is like on the occasion of this conversation, which is ring ready, this guy is, and I remember thinking at the time, this guy's ring ready, because he's a polished wrestler, and I think it's perfect for Riptide, perfect for that Riptide audience.
I can't wait. I mean, I haven't really seen anything of Rocky Mack apart from little clips.
There's something very excited about seeing a wrestler you've never heard of before. Like, what's going to happen? Is he going to be a high flyer? Is he just going to be a brawler?
Yeah, who knows? So obviously, he's with Session Moth against Shakara and Paul Robinson, and that sort of links on actually something I wanted to ask about, which was there's been talk of tag team championships at Riptide, and from the talent, people likes of Ginny and Jimmy Havoc sort of saying when those belts come, they're going to be ours, and obviously you've got the likes of Shakara and Paul Robinson as well teaming up and alluding to winning those championships. Any little teasers or updates about those that are there going to be belts?
We'd like to think that there will be belts, especially with our self-imposed need for things to be first and foremost of a high quality, and then ideally unique, but not at the cost of quality. Do you know what I mean? That's like just unique and shit. Like, what's the fucking point in that? Like, that's just something that's bad, right? So they're expensive to pull together, and it's not a given. It's just never a given. It's somewhere we want to go, obviously.
Absolutely.
I've got to ask you what you thought of. Did you see Daniel Bryan's new championship belt during the week? His hemp
Loved it.
It did make me think of you guys, obviously, with the approach you took with your belt, which is excellent. But that looked amazing. That
it
belt,
looked amazing. And funnily enough, my dad, who if people come to the shows, you'll probably notice this sort of gooseberry-headed. It's got a fine layer of hair all over. It's got number one and a short beard, for those who don't know him. Just sort of stomping around, seek and destroy, sort of problem solver.
Brilliant.
When we wanted to have a non-animal strap for the belt, because, as Daniel Bryan has very effectively communicated, a lot of a vegan champion doesn't necessarily want to sling a carcass over his shoulder. No. And webbing was what Dad was suggesting, which is, I guess, I don't know if you would term what the strap is on Daniel Bryan's thing as webbing or Hessian or whatever you would sort of term that kind of material, is absolutely what Dad was suggesting for that. It just ended up that as we were going through the process that for various reasons we went with a more standard, just a non-animal leather, which does have limitations. There's the tooling that you'll see on a leather belt, on a leather strap, so the lovely sort of bits that look like it's been woven and this and that, all of that. You can only do that with animal leather. That's about the oils in the material that allows that. Which is why it was kind of hard to get someone to work on the strap for us in that, because these belt makers have got their their standard for work, and this is how I do it, and you're not going to get that, and it's like, well, we fucking did, mate. So
it's quite a niche thing for them to do. I guess
there would be belt makers. That's crazy. Yeah. How'd you get into that? That's a niche in VQ, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that's niche enough as it is, but then imagine being like,
a vegan one.
Vegan wrestling belt.
Yeah. And the guy we ended up using for that makes saddles.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's people out there with the with the right skills, and one of our philosophies is kind of it's easier to get a wrestling job out of a professional X than it is to get a professional job out of a wrestling X. In a lot of situations. So I think with a bit of briefing and a bit of patience and this and that, we'll always defer to do with people that have got the reps, that have been at it on their core skills, as opposed to kind of using half a skill to get close to wrestlers.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like we might have some belts to look forward to at some point. It's not a no.
It's not a no. It is not a no.
It's certainly an aspiration anyway.
Yeah, I guess that would be the dream, to have all sorts of different championships. Okay, well that pretty much wraps up what we wanted to cover. I think you guys got anything that you wanted to discuss? Anything you wanted to announce to the people, to the listeners, to the fans?
Well, podcast listeners, Brit Wrestling Riptide-centric podcast listeners, we are going to be doing a Riptide podcast with our friends at Hardest Part of the Ring Towers, with our friends MJ at You Total Cult, and many other. We're planning on having guests, sort of from inside and outside the Riptide sphere. We're pretty much announcing this now, so we have to do it. And loosely, we're not too married to a concept. I think that's just important. I think it's really important for people not to be too married to their concept, because if you're going to do something you're about to that you've not done before, then of course you're going to learn a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you're bound to some concept that was all well and good before you had any practical, real world experience of what that entails, then you're kind of making a rod for your own back. But the idea really would be that you would have myself and Tom absent for pods that are about a Riptide show, and then we'd sort of come in and bring for roundtables and things like that on, for example, a big WWE show or something like that.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Oh God. You don't get more down on this than we do.
No, it's a dead cert, mate.
Is Brett going to do your art? Oh God, is he going to stop doing art? Sign him up full time for Riptide work. Unbelievable.
So the Tuesday morning wars begin.
Brilliant.
Oh my God, I'm Eric Bischoff.
A couple of
Your
listener-
Judy bag.
got a couple of listener questions just to finish off with, and one of them is from MJ, who you guys will be working with and you have done in the past. It's a stupid one, so this is a sign of things to come from MJ on the podcast.
Smug MJ with his stupid moustache.
Yeah. He says smoke garlic, yay or nay?
Well, now listen, this is it, right? So, if you're cooking it down, you might as well not fucking bother. What's wrong with you, right? It's not garlicky enough. It's not smoky enough. Doesn't stand up to it.
Yeah.
Just use some fucking proper garlic and some smoked paprika, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe if you're gonna have it on a carpaccio of some description, very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice. Okay, because it is mild, and it is suitable for that kind of application. But if you're cooking with it, mate, you're wasting. You are just wasting your time.
Good answer. Comprehensive. Wasn't expecting that. And then he also says, if Riptide was a pizza, what flavour would it be? Have you put a lot of thought into this, Tom? Is this something you thought about?
Christ, no.
Put you on the spot. This is what podcasting with MJ is going to be like.
I have some thoughts.
Go for it.
Go.
My favourite pizza. My favourite pizza is a marinara. Is a marinara. Okay, because that I think that's kind of all you need. And when it's great, it's just great.
Totally.
You know, and I think if we're talking about presentation, okay, if we're talking about stuff like that, people might even look at Riptide as like, oh, it's got this deluxe cinema. You can tell I don't cinematic feel, like blah blah blah. I don't view that as a load of toppings. I don't view that as something on top of the wrestling at all. I view that as a stripping back of a veil of perception that allows you to tune into the wrestling much better than if it's filmed on a potato and has a this and that. You know, I think it's about it being as simple and direct as possible, and it's not it's for me it's addition through subtraction, as opposed to a bunch of fucking toppings. So that's what I would call it.
Doing it justice,
letting it speak for itself, allowing people to watch the wrestling. I think wrestling is too hard to watch.
That is good that you've taken MJ's ridiculous, stupid question.
That was a strong ass metaphor.
Yeah, and you've absolutely nailed it. Sorry, MJ, I don't know. I'm very
as strong as his smug mustache. Smug stash.
Okay, well that is pretty much it, I think. Unless there's anything else that you guys wanted to discuss, or anything else you want to plug? Personal stuff away from wrestling, or maybe not. No? Nah. Okay. Good. Well, thank you very much for coming on again. Obviously, if listeners want to follow Riptide, it's Riptide Res on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, I would say Riptide Res.
Res. What did I say? Res.
Res, because it's sort of
Resident Evil-y.
Yeah, the W's not.
Yeah, because I don't say wrestling, do I? Good point. Riptide Res. WRES.
Yes.
On demand is riptidewrestling.com.
You can go .com, and then there's links onto there, or you can go pivotshare. Or riptidewrestling.pivotshare.com.
Amazing. And if people want to buy merch,
it's Big Cartel, so riptidewrestling.bigcartel.com. But really, Google's your friend. Your little search bar on whatever you're looking at is your bloody friend. Or you've got links to everything on riptidewrestling.com. But Riptide Wrestling. Riptide Wrestling.
Perfect. Okay, well thank you very much. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Josh.
My pleasure, thank you.
And thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
All the bloody best.
X-Plex on the apron!
Hardest part of the ring.
There we go then. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you very much again to both Tom and Josh for coming on the podcast, and especially to Tom for hosting us last week. And if you haven't checked out Riptide, then what are you doing? I mean, the chances are you've probably seen a clip online, because a lot of their stuff really does get shared a lot because it does look so lovely. Not only the in-ring product, but obviously all the branding and stuff that we talked about. But yeah, check it out. If you want to sign up to their pivot share, go for that. But if you're not 100% sure yet, there are a couple of free matches on their YouTube channel, so it's well worth a look. And obviously Deep Six coming up Friday, February the 15th. We'll be there. I think all four of us, maybe just three of us, but we'll be there, so hopefully we'll see a few of you down there as well. In terms of next episode for us, we're going to be doing a Hardest Part of the Ring rewind episode, which is where we delve back into the archives on the WWE network, find an old pay-per-view that we haven't watched for ages or maybe never seen before, and review it, which is always good fun. We haven't chosen what we're going to go for yet, but we'll stick that up on our social media as soon as we do. If you want to get in touch with us, we have an email. It's hardestpartofthering@gmail.com. Social media is @hardestpartpod on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And if you are a fan of Brett's work and you like his illustrations, then at hardestpartofthering.bigcartel.com you can find a couple of t-shirts which Brett has designed for us on there. So yeah, why not? Don't just spend all your money. You know, you might have rent to pay or food shopping to do or loved ones to buy presents for, but just go and buy more wrestling t-shirts. If there's one thing you need, it's more wrestling t-shirts. Okay, hardestpartofthering.bigcartel.com. And that is pretty much it. There is one more thing I wanted to mention, and I think I can get away with this because the other guys aren't here to tell me to shut up and get on with it. I mentioned on last week's podcast, Pod Bible is a project that I've been heavily involved with Scroobius Pip and Stuart Whiffin. The three of us have put together a podcast magazine which is free. Monday just gone was the launch day in London. Went really well. We handed out loads of copies to loads of commuters around London. Dropped a load off at a load of shops as well. It's a free podcast magazine which recommends different podcasts, talks about classic old episodes or introduces new podcasts you might not have heard of. It's also got interviews with lots of famous podcasters. Adam Buxton was the main interviewee for issue 1. I'm sure we've got a lot of Adam Buxton fans listening. And just really wanted to talk about that and hope that you guys might be up for getting involved with that and follow us. It's Pod Bible on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook as well, I think. And there'll be a digital issue out next week. So please check that out. And there's actually a little advert for Hardest Part of the Ring in there as well. So yeah, we may well have some new listeners. And if you're one of the listeners who came from Pod Bible, hello. Thanks very much for listening. And hope you enjoyed the podcast. And that is enough shameless self-promotion. I think that's it. So thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the pod, please go and rate and review and all that usual stuff. If you do review us on iTunes and you take a screenshot and send it in to us, we'll send you a load of free stickers. So hopefully that's a bit of an incentive. But until next week, when we have our Hardest Part of the Ring rewind episode, it is goodbye from me. And that was the Hardest Part of the Ring.
That is the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest